Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a cool base similar to this one using a material called SCUPT mode. This product can be found in the US as well as the UK and other countries around the world. It's essentially tissue paper or toilet paper and plaster. This small batch I've made is for the purpose of this video, and I'm going to show you and introduce to you the supplies you will need. The idea is to be able to make more for less money, and this is a cool project if you're on a budget. You will see later in the video how I managed to make about $50 worth of SCUPT mode with just 15 bucks. With cheap toilet paper and any type of plaster of Paris or lightweight hydrocal of your choice will do the job. You will also need a container and a measuring cup like this one, ideally with the lines so you can be able to see the measurements when you add the 50-50 mix of the plaster and the toilet paper. So I took a trip to my local dollar store and I picked up a new measuring cup and a aluminum foil container with a plastic lid on it. This will allow me to throw in all the material I've made and store it for later use. Here you can see the future part of this video. I've already made the batch, and as I'm just adding some of that toilet paper into the measuring cup, and I want to get 2 cups out of it. So 1 cup of toilet paper and 1 cup of plaster of Paris, and I'll mix that together to create my SCUPT mode. Once we have 2 cups, we can mix it well for about 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes, and I like to put the mixture in a separate plastic bag and tease it around, squeeze it, move it around even more, just to be able to knit together the paper and the plaster as much as I can. It doesn't have to be perfect. There's no real correct way of doing it. As long as you mix it, once you add the water to it, everything will integrate together and you should be good to go. Once I feel like it's mixed enough, I put it back into the cup, add the water, and get it ready for application. And with these 2 ingredients mixed together, it is ready for use. Personally, I don't like to add the plaster to the whole entire batch because I find it easy to just take some, throw it in a cup, throw some plaster and mix it as I go, as opposed to just mixing the whole thing, because this crumbled up paper could be useful for other projects without the plaster, such as miniature clouds or other things that you can do that you wouldn't be able to do it if you had the plaster in it. I've made a bag, and that should be plenty of material for me to use for a long time. Here you can see side by side the bag I purchased a while back that was filled to the top, and I have about half of it left. And the batch I've made, which was 1/4 of the whole thing I did, is about the same amount for a fraction of the money. If I remember correctly, I spent about $20+ on this bag and less than 15 or less in the batch that I've made. And I have plenty of stuff to use for a very long time, and I don't have to worry about making it again for a while, probably for a couple of years. So that's something to keep in mind if you're considering making this. Is very convenient. So now that I've introduced to you to the material itself, I will show you how to make it. And all you're gonna need is a container with water, some toilet paper, which you can cut out and take the chunks out, or you can just take the sheets, unroll it, and throw it in the water until it's fully soaked. The two ways you can do it is by tearing the paper with your fingers, or if you have a mixer like I did, you can just go around and mix it and it will tear up the paper for you. Once you do that, just drain as much water as possible from the paper into another dry container. After the paper is all clumped up, you can unravel it again and break it apart even further with your fingers before putting the whole thing in the oven. At this stage, you can go ahead and set your oven at 250 degrees for 30 minutes. Bake the paper. If you want to do it twice, you can. But once the paper is dry enough, even if it's moist, you can go and move to the next step, which is grinding the paper in anything such as a blender. But what I recommend, a coffee grinder, which I picked up at a local thrift store for only $2. Once you've grinded this for about 10 to 15 seconds, you should get this nice fluffy rice looking thing that you will mix equally with plaster. The ratio doesn't have to be 50-50, but as long as the amounts are somewhat equal to one another, you should be fine. As I mentioned at the beginning, at this point, just stir the whole thing together until you're comfortable enough and you can see it that it's pretty much all mixed together. Keep in mind, the time it will take you to mix will vary depending on the quantity of your batch. For example, a small cup like this will only take me about a minute versus a whole half a gallon, which could take longer. And now for the fun part. I will use a small amount of SCUPT for demonstration, and here's a useful tip for you. Use Mod Podge of any kind that you like, or school glue, along with the water that you're going to use to mix. What this will do is it will create a stronger bond to your mixture, to both the SCUPT mold itself and the surface you're applying to it. And what you're looking for is a cottage cheese consistency. So you don't want to add too much water, otherwise it will be too runny, but you want to add plenty so that it could be clumpy enough for you to apply and sculpt, as you see here in the video. I got inspired to do a couple of tiny little islands in 1/700 scale, just to show you the versatility of what you can do with this material. And I felt like it was only proper to recreate a small tiny little skull island using the head of a toy skeleton I got from the dollar store a long time ago. I just smushed it in there, sculpted around it, and it was as easy as that. After waiting 30 minutes, I let the SCUPT mold dry up a little bit and shaped it to place. Once it was fully dried, I painted it and added all the other details necessary to create my scene. My recommendations to letting the food dry, just leave it set for a couple of days so you could be able to take advantage of that hardness, and depending on the humidity, the drying time will vary. As always in my videos, the following slideshows are examples of projects I've done in the past, including this one, using this material and how you can apply it in various ways to create really cool effects in very little time. So I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode.